Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Farmington Board of Education meeting for Monday, May 21st. If we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and after the pledge, if you can all stay standing, we're going to have a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we'd like to bow our heads for a moment of silence to think of those in the Santa Fe community right now. Thank you. On to item 6B, summer curriculum process and projects.
So we have many projects occurring during the summer. It's a busy time for us. And really, we align our curriculum to our vision of the graduate, our framework for teaching and learning, and our core beliefs. So I know Kim is here, and possibly Veronica is here to talk about summer curriculum process and projects.
So Veronica and I work closely with the leadership in all of our schools to consider the priority projects for the upcoming year. And we always have a very busy summer. Veronica does amazing work with our curriculum developers in the first few days of that follow the end of school to learn to enhance and extend our high quality curriculum. So I don't know if there are any particular projects you want to mention, Veronica, or
I think it's just a great segue from what we just saw, because I feel like that's what we're trying to do with these. So sometimes you think, like, what are we always updating? We're always updating it so it stays relevant to what our students, what's going on in their real lives. You saw a lot of this too, the sort of the fruits of some of the curriculum work when we also had the science presentation that night, and there were really impressive projects in there. But it's really this kind of thinking about purpose, but we're also working on mastery, but you can see how they're blended together. I think in a lot of places, people go after like mastery, but forget, and then it looks more like a checklist. But we've said it's got to be both. It has to be mastery, but then it has to be the purpose. And sometimes coming up with the purposeful kinds of projects takes some time away from, you're not in the day-to-day, classroom. And summer's a really good time we found for teachers to sort of take that break and say, like, what's really important here? Let me sort of step away and come up with some things that are really engaging for students, but also meet the standards for mastery. It was just a perfect entree to why we are continuously revising and updating all of our maps and our curriculum work. And there aren't any ones here in particular I'd like to highlight really, because I feel like most of these you've seen already in other presentations when we did, for example, the new courses. So you'll see the new courses that you approved. Now we have to write the curriculum for those. So those kinds of things are in there. So it's just a continuation of the work the work that we've been doing. But there is one academy that I think will be well attended, and that's the Student Engaged Assessment Practices Workshop. I know a lot of teachers, that's the 4 days after we get out of school, and it's a chance for teachers to really think about their assessments as a package, and where are all the opportunities that students can show us evidence that they understand the standards. So I think that that's going to be probably the one I'm talking to you about the most when I do the review of what work was done over the summer. That's the one that I think I'll talk about the most. But all I wouldn't say there's anything you could see. Like I said, most of them are for the courses that you've already approved.
Any questions for Veronica or Kim? Thank you. Item 6C, teacher program leadership appointments.
So teacher leadership is a key driver of our improvement in Farmington, and you could see, again, a great segue. There were teacher leaders within that group, and lots of opportunities for our teachers to take on leadership in the district. So I don't know, Kim, if you want to say a few words about.
just that, annually we provide you with a list of all of the teachers who apply every year for their position. And I just love reading those applications because they're asked to talk about why they want to continue in a leadership role or apply for a new leadership role and what their goals are. And as you read through these applications, it's very gratifying to see so many thematic ideas. They're, really speaking to the sense of shared vision that we have in this district. And the other thing I just want to take the opportunity to mention is that more and more I see these teacher leaders here working across levels. I think it would be typical to have department leaders at the high school work together and resource teachers at the middle school work together, but more and more I see teacher leaders going to other schools and working with each other or working with the faculty at another school. So one example, our social studies department chair recently went to Westwoods and spoke with the faculty at Westwoods so that they could really understand what kinds of practices are current at the high school, so they could know what students will be experiencing in a few years when they get to the high school. And it just creates that synergy and that coherence across levels. And we have some incredible teacher leaders in this district that I'm so fortunate to work with, so.
Any questions? Okay. Item 6D, engaged learning update.
So our presentation earlier was in our Engaged Learning Update, I think either last time or the time before, where students at West District created the newsletter. We have Westwoods Upper Elementary School, several students taking a world language assessment, student voice at Noah Wallace. At IAR, we're highlighting our 2018 Scholar Leaders, Union's May Day celebration, West District's author visit, and then of course, a day I'm sure many of you attended in the past or this year, but the Yark Day at East Farms is always a really wonderful celebration of student writing.
Okay. Item 6E, professional appointments, retirements, resignations.
So I think there are 2 resignations there. We are very busy in our hiring season right now. Our principals and teachers have been hard at work with search committees and different groups that are hiring, and then those individuals are recommended to Kim and to me, and so we have a whole hiring process. We're also in the middle of our Westwoods Upper Elementary School assistant principal search. When we have a candidate, that candidate will be coming to the board, and we've just closed our IAR principal search, and we're going through the candidates right now. So we'll be going through that process. So very busy.
Great. Okay, item 7A, budget impact, budget update.
There's not really a lot of change from from the last time I reported to the board. I do see the same trend items that we have been experiencing continue throughout the end of the school year. Special education nursing services, some special education transportation remain to be running a little bit more than expected, but no significant changes.
Thank you. Item 8A, renewal of the cafeteria contract.
So each year we are required to renew our cafeteria contract with Chartwells, and I'll have Vince, I believe you have a handout, and just introduce, well, we see Jose is here, so he's going to come up to the table.
I'm handing out to the board amendment number 2. Last year was amendment number 1 to our contract with Chartwells. Having a food service management company is very prescribed in the state of Connecticut. How long you can enter into agreements, and the fact that when you've entered into an agreement, how long you can extend the agreement by these amendments. even so much as there's an email that comes out to all schools in Connecticut that have food service management companies, like I think it came in March, that indicates to what level you could negotiate to for an increase. And we were notified by the state of Connecticut that we would be, everyone who has a food service management company in Connecticut, all boards of ed, could negotiate up to 2.2%. So we were notified of that, and the other documents, which I do have in case any board member has an interest in seeing it, but the Chartwells has an obligation of providing a renewed bond, other insurance information. If there's an interest, I have that material here. Each year they have provided everything they're supposed to by the state's standards. So this, there was a negotiations, a meeting held. Chartwell's management came in and met with the school administration, and the amendment number 2 outlines a negotiated percentage increase of 2%. So that is the being presented to the board. You see there are 2 different points in amendment number 2 where you see the 2% applied in regards to the management fee and in regards to the administrative fee.
So, I just wanted to, it's my understanding, and I just want to make sure it's true, that this 2% increase won't impact the cost of any of the lunches or anything, to any of the students. Is that right?
That's correct. That's a great question, Liz, and a good opportunity for me to say some great things about Jose and the local management. Participation is trending very well in the cafeterias, so there is there's no need to increase lunch prices. The success that's being driven right now is by increased participation of the lunch program in Farmington. And under Jose's management and also Beth Haber's administration of the fund, it's trending to have a profit to the cafeteria fund. There is no profit to Chartwells. Any profit in the program goes into the cafeteria fund to keep the fund healthy. Yep.
So, can I?
Yes.
So, just for anyone who doesn't have the background, I guess, when we switched over to Chartwells, the cafeteria fund was not great. And it was actually a problem. It was always running behind it. So the board, like, there would have to be funds allocated from other places. So that was one of the reasons that the switch was made, right? I mean, one
Well,
of
we could see
many
a
reasons.
downward trend where we were taking out of the reserve and actually paying into, the cafeteria, because we were working at a deficit.
Right.
So we would have to, although we had a reserve, we had to keep applying that. We could see what the future held for
Right,
us.
right.
So we, took time to really study it, and then we made the switch over to Chartwells, which, many school districts are really challenged by the lunch program. And we were fortunate enough to make that switch prior to really dealing with a significant deficit.
So I guess that the point that I would like to make then, based on that background, is that we've come a very long way in that it looks like the fund now is going to be a guarantee of $43,000 in the fund. So I think that's great. I think that shows that we've turned it around, and it's very important for everyone to know that the money isn't coming out of reserve, the board isn't having to subsidize it, and that it's actually made great strides in the right direction, and it just looks like it's going to keep going that way. So I guess it's not a comment. It's not a question, it's more of a comment, so good job.
Thank you. And right now we're trending at 60,000. So as long as we control, May is going to bring in some more funds because it's a solid month, and then in June, if we control costs, we're going to definitely beat that guarantee.
Great.
And I would just, Jose knows that I'm going to say this, but I really can't say enough about Jose's leadership and really the really significant change we've seen since Jose's been overseeing the program. And we make that very clear to Chartwells that we're extremely happy with your work and how you are really moving the whole program forward. Very much like we do in every other element of our work, Jose is really become a part of Farmington and our culture, where we are always looking to improve and get better every single day, and we see that with Chartwells.
Yeah, and we have a team of about 28 employees, and we communicate in many different ways.
Yeah.
From text to whatever it takes, and that's a key of how we could stay, structured on a daily basis and do innovative things.
Yeah.
Because of communication that we have.
Great. Good. Any other questions for Jose or Vince? Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
This you would need to vote on.
Yes, we are going to need to complete our motion. Okay. Can I get a motion to renew the amendment number 2 of the cafeteria contract dated May 10th, 2018?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Okay, on to approval of the healthy food certificate statement.
So these are going to be very long motions that we'll all have to be very patient going through.
Read these before, okay.
This is something that we do approve each year. It does subsidize, our lunch programming. I don't know, Vince, if you want to say a few words about it.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to invite Jose up again.
Welcome back.
In the past few years, we've had Jose's regional administrator, or even the much regional person talking on this topic. But Jose, would you like to say a couple words about it?
Yeah, so what's exciting about it is that even though it's state funded, sometimes we feel like there's too many restrictions. But throughout the years, they've been able to really open up the market where we're able to buy snacks that are name brand. And I've been able to capture it all. So like currently we're up like over $300 a day versus prior year, because I'm capturing these name brand a la carte snacks. Plus we're getting the reimbursement back from the state. So it's a win-win for us.
Liz?
So, to that point, Jose, I think that a lot of people don't understand that the limitations that you have on what you can purchase.
Right.
So, for instance, you might see something at IAR that you like hint water, but you can't have that in the elementary school because it's packaged in too big of a container, right? So it's not like you're saying, oh, only IAR people can have that. It's the
Right.
restrictions placed on you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think you're doing a phenomenal job
Yeah,
with
thank you.
considering the restrictions. I mean, if I remember correctly, Chartwells came in around the time that the restrictions got very tight.
Right. Really strict. Yeah.
So I think people maybe associate Chartwells with the smaller portions and the
Right.
different restrictions, and that's just not fair, because everyone has to abide by those,
Exactly.
right? So, but you're doing a great job. I think we all appreciate all of the stuff you're bringing
Yeah.
into the schools and making the kids want to really buy lunch at school.
Yeah,
So-
and it's and sometimes it's because you have to do your homework. So like it's a lot of pages that you have to go through to see what they approve. So because we're doing that homework, we're able to capture it all.
Right, yeah, good job.
And typically, what do we, by having the healthy food certification, what does that mean for us, besides just following the
Right.
the guideline?
So overall, it's a good program because they're really trying to keep the nutritional part of it down to like low sodium, low calories. For them, they could balance a full lunch and not get carried away with a la carte snack. So that side is, overall, I think the program is good. It's not too much of, too healthy where students are not even going to understand. So it's a well balanced. On the other side of it, on the grant side of it, is over $20,000 so we get back a year for just participating. It's like 10 cents a meal.
And Jose, too, this is a USDA standard, so it's even a federal standard that's brought down to the state that the state then is
Correct.
passing down. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Go ahead, Liz.
it's something that anyone who wants that grant needs to do. But I just wanted to make the point that if we didn't get that grant, I guess, then the town would have to come up with that money. I mean, it'd have to be in our budget, that money. It wouldn't be like if we opt out of this, if we all voted no, which we've never done, but I'm just
Well,
giving an
because we're
example.
held to that standard
Right.
at the national level anyway.
Right, that's my
so-
point. So we're held to that standard anyway.
Right.
We wouldn't get the money,
Right.
and then we would have to find it in the budget.
Well, it would be that we would have less of a
Right.
reserve.
Or we'd have less
Yeah,
of a reserve.
We
yeah.
wouldn't have to fund it separately.
Right, but that's still part of the budget. I mean, That's
Absolutely,
still
yeah.
the budget process. So, and we wouldn't get a discount on our federal taxes for not doing it. So it's not like the government would say, okay, you can have 10 cents each. No. So that's more of just a comment so people
Yeah,
understand that it's something
absolutely.
that all the districts have to go through.
Sure, yeah, and I think if it was too restrictive, or it's not working for us, then we should probably think of it, because then when we get off the program, we go open up the door to more type of snacks.
But you're not finding that.
No,
You're-
it's
because-
working. Yeah.
You do your work, so
Yeah,
you
exactly.
get everything in, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
I've
And it's
heard-
all
yeah.
name brand stuff, so it's nice.
I haven't heard any kind of complaints about the snack.
Any other questions for Vince or Jose? Okay, bear with me, these motions are lengthy and,
And we have to do them separately, correct, Vince?
yes.
Yes,
there's
yes,
three.
we do.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
Very prescribed, sorry.
So, motion number 1, to approve Farmington Public Schools' participation in the healthy food option pursuant to Section 10215F. The Board of Education certifies that all food items offered for sale to students in the schools under its jurisdiction and not exempted from the Connecticut nutrition standards published by the Connecticut State Department of Education will comply with the Connecticut nutrition standards during the period of July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019. This certification shall include all foods offered for sale to students separately from reimbursable meals at all times and from all sources, including but not limited to school stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, and any fundraising activities on school premises sponsored by the school or by non-school organizations and groups. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Number 2, can I have a motion to approve the exemption for food items as follows? The Board of Education will allow the sale to students of food items that do not meet the Connecticut nutrition standards, provided that the following conditions are met. 1, the sale is in connection with an event occurring after the end of the regular school day or on a weekend. 2, the sale is at the location of the event. And 3, the food items are not sold from a vending machine or school store. An event is an occurrence that involves more than just a regularly scheduled practice, meeting, or extracurricular activity. For example, soccer games, school plays, and interscholastic debates are events, but soccer practices, play rehearsals, and debate team meetings are not. The regular school day is the period from midnight before to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Location means where the event is being held.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Motion number 3. If I can have a motion to move that the superintendent be authorized to sign the healthy food certification statement as presented, indicating the Farmington Public Schools will participate in the program for the 2018-2019 school year.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you, Vince. Thank you, Jose.
Thank you.
That was an awful.
Thanks a lot.
Okay. So we are on to 8C, approval of the Noah Wallace Fund proposals.
So we are extremely thankful to the Noah Wallace Fund Committee for their support and commitment to innovation. Kim and our board representative, Mark, will provide an overview of the Noah Wallace proposal.
We were excited this year because we had some incredible proposals to consider, more than we could actually fund. So I think the board did a remarkable job of trying to provide some funding for full funding for one proposal and sort of first step funding for 2 other proposals to get them started. And we'll entertain, a follow-up proposal for next year, but we're very excited and appreciative to have the 3 projects that you see in front of you get a jump start next year, and it will certainly enhance the sharing of work at Noah Wallace in the same way that you saw the students up here tonight. We have assemblies in all of our elementary schools where students come forth and share the incredible work they're doing, and so the equipment that the Noah Wallace Fund is providing will help everyone hear better and see better and participate more effectively in these assemblies. And then the Westwoods project, the Digital Media Arts Initiative, will enhance the digital arts aspect of the art program at Westwoods in a way that is really responsive to the excitement that students are showing at Westwoods at that age and grade level in digital media art. And we have an incredibly talented and creative faculty there, a new faculty this year working together for the first time, and their ideas are infectious, if I might say, for children, and they've really done a lot to enhance creative thinking at Westwoods. And then finally, the third project, a heart rate sensor technology in PE, is another way to help students become more self-directed in learning through monitoring their own physical fitness, and certainly something we can all do a better job of in our lives and really be more aware of and know how to use technology to enhance our own personal well-being. So these 3 projects will really make a difference in students' lives next year, and we're very thankful to the committee for choosing them and supporting them. Mark, I know you were there, and it was a hard choice this year.
I will say this, but for those of you who aren't too familiar with how the committee runs, it's been, this is one of those funds where every year the teachers put out applications for different projects that they propose to enhance school experiences for the kids, and a lot of these proposals are sometimes they're just creative. I don't know. I think it's probably one of the more interesting committees that I've been on in terms of like ideas that come out. I think one year we funded the electrical orchestra over at Westwoods. We were the first to do the maker spaces over at Noah Wallace, I believe it was.
Yep.
And a few other projects. I mean, if you go back and look at the list, they're just fun to go through. This year was harder to get through, but really I think, the biggest funding project I think made the most sense, and it was kind of neat to be able to see the other 2 that we funded and partially fund them because they could each get off the ground. You could see how they were going to go and look at future opportunities, maybe complete the cost. So it's really one of my favorite committees. It doesn't meet very often, unfortunately, but
also,
but
A good element, right? Positive element.
People, Jewish Weapon does a good job managing the funds, and it's great to get together to see that the fund is managed well, that there are plenty of applications that come in. There's a demand to see people's ideas, and the ones that don't make it through, they're definitely not bad ideas. It's just that sometimes you just can't fund everything, and the management has done well with the fund to keep enough money available to do good things.
yeah, great.
Any questions for Kim or Mark? No? Okay. Oh, we have action on that. Can I have a motion to approve the 2018-19 Noah Wallace Fund projects as presented? Motion. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Very nice. Okay. 8D, approval of the first reading of revisions to the following policies. So I think some of you knew that with the adoption of the new committees, once the new board came in, I was appointed chair of the policy committee. So I sat down with Kathy and we looked at, we'll call them the bookends, the 1,000 series and the 9,000 series, which deal specifically with the board itself and our policies, our bylaws. And so we went through and just made some updates that seemed to make sense. There were some things we were kind of surprised weren't in there to begin with. Some things just needed to be updated. So items A through G follow that path, and we can go through them if anybody has any specific questions on them. So the first policy, 9012A, you'll see specifically under item C, we just updated all of the administrators that should fall under the appointment process, with Ted's position being new, and there were some, again, the language just wasn't very clear on that. So outside of that, there were no changes to that policy. If we go on to.
Sorry, Christine.
Yes,
So as you go through, so this
Yep.
is just the first reading?
this is just the first reading.
Okay, so nothing is actually getting changed from this, this is just going through?
Not until we move on to the second reading and it's approved.
Is
So
that
if
today?
you'll see in here, no, the second reading will be at our next meeting. So you'll see in item C, there's bold type, and those are the changes that were made. Everything else was in there already. So if we move on to policy 1120. So one of the items we took on was aligning that blurb that I read during every meeting specific to public comment and kind of the rules of our meeting. This is to align those statements. So it references back to policy 9325, which is meeting conduct. So moving through. Policy 9325.1. This hadn't been revised since 2000, so this is specific to voting procedures. It talks about, you know, the ability of members to vote and nominate themselves for offices, not vote on items where they have their financial interest, the board's role in having an opportunity to explain his or her vote, that the board chair may participate like any other member. There are some towns where the board chairs do not vote during the process, so this is kind of just outlining all of that.
So this whole entire section 2 is new?
Correct. So moving on to 9121. This is the office of the chair, and you'll see we removed a very, I guess I'll call it summarized version of the chair's role and outlined it to be a more specific role. Again, this one hadn't been updated since 2000, so this outlines that the chairperson shall preside at the board meetings, they would serve as a spokesman for the board, that they would appoint and remove committee members, shall serve as an ex officio member on all committees, that the chairperson shall act as the board's representative for the purposes of consultation with legal counsel, and that the chairperson shall perform such other duties as may be delegated to him or her by the board. So this whole bottom section is new.
Okay, so it's not bold.
It's not bold here. That's why I wanted to call attention to it. So on to the next page, policy 9325.2. This again was the one that was referenced earlier, so you'll see item 5 is new. It talks about the posting of our agenda, which is just an outline that designates 24 hours before that we would have the agenda posted, where it's posted, and how we go about adding items to the agenda as a board. This was another one. This one hadn't been updated since 2000. I'm sorry, 17, 12. Oh, did we do this one in 17?
We might have
Something on that,
revised a
yeah.
part of it, but one of the things Mary noticed is that there was nothing in our policies talking about posting an agenda, just so that it's clear, the rules of posting an agenda, and it made sense to put it there.
So the next page is policy 2120. You'll note that does not fall in the 1,000 or 9,000 series, but this one Kathy pulled to update again because of the administrative roles and making sure that they were labeled correctly. This is the organizational chart for our administrators.
So just changing, we had supervisor of special services, and we changed that to assistant director, so we just wanted it to be correct and updated.
So 9325, again, this is, if you look, this is exactly what I would read during the board meetings at the agenda item that calls for public comment. So it's exactly what you guys are used to hearing. This was just changed to align and be very clear so that we're saying exactly what we mean in our bylaws. Okay, so those are all the this is all the first readings of revisions to policies. So if I can have a motion to approve the first reading of policies 9012A, 1120, 9325.1, 9121, 9325.2, 2120, and 9325.
Motion.
Second?
Any questions, comments? Liz?
I forget where I wrote it down, so I wouldn't forget. Hold on. I just have a question on the, on 9121.
Okay.
So I understand that it wasn't, it was just very summarized in the old one for the office of the chairperson, but unless, I just read it quickly, but you took out the part with the board chair signing legal documents. Isn't the board chair supposed to sign all the legal documents on behalf of the board? So that's not in the new one.
So it says consultation with legal counsel,
Right.
but not signature. Good point.
I just think it would be very ambiguous without that in there, because then he could maybe delegate it to other people. I don't know if he wanted it that way, or it was just, I don't know.
And on the same page, I just want to make sure I'm reading it correctly. That was all that was there?
Was
But
just
now
that
it's section
beginning,
that's
those
crossed
two
out.
sentences at the top. I mean, we could add that part, makes sense. The chairperson shall sign legal documents for the board, because the other part is in there. So we could
Right.
add that.
I just think
That
if you
makes sense.
leave it out, then
Yeah.
it's too ambiguous.
That's a
so-
very good suggestion.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Any other questions?
I didn't catch who, was it a policy committee meeting that you had done this?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
And
How
who was
often is,
present?
how
Yeah.
often is that done?
The policy committee, we basically are calling them as needed at this point. So the first meeting was before I left for vacation, the end of March. And then we met,
2 weeks.
Mark, Chris, Kathy, and myself were
May
present. Bill
10th,
wasn't
yeah,
able
so
to
March
attend.
26th,
Right.
we had a meeting, and then May 10th, we had a meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry, how often are these updated?
Oh, so some of these hadn't been updated since like 2000,
Right,
or some
okay,
of them had
so
been
it's
updated
just-
by statute.
So every year, we use a model policy book from Shipman and Goodwin, and so when different statutes are passed, so we're going to have a bunch in September because things are passed, and then Shipman and Goodwin works on the policy updates. You'll get a big stack, usually in September, October, of all revisions to policies. And then the policy committee, will update various ones throughout the year, because Shipman and Goodwin might send a new one in the middle of the year that they feel, that needs to be updated. The other, I think for Christine, it was Christine thinking, let's look at the board ones a little closer. We haven't looked at them in a long time, which we thought, that would be great. So that's what, we did look at Shipman and Goodwin's model policies for the 9,000s and the 1,000s, and then we went through. Some we updated, some we felt like our policies are really strong here, we don't have to do that one. Or in the next section, you'll see that we actually didn't have a couple policies that we probably should have had. So it's just, I think it's really the policy committee, or it might be, I'm getting some updates from Shipman and Goodwin, and I would put that on an agenda going to policy.
So to answer your question, Michelle, it was Mark, myself, Chris, and Kathy. At the last meeting, Bill Becker was not present for that meeting. That's the policy committee.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And do we get any advice back on the changes that we've made before
Well, we usually just use Shipman and Goodwin's model policies.
Okay, but we added changes. Are those changes verbatim from that, or is it?
Well, you know,
What is
the
advice
board.
that we get on what we do?
Right, I think when it comes to statutory issues, it's completely, you know, we go with what our attorneys suggest because it's statute. Here, there is some discretion, but I think, you know, we looked at the model policies.
Right. Like, for example, the office of the chair, that came out of Shipman's
Yeah.
model policy. Now, what we had was maybe their model policy in 2000, but
Right.
it has since been updated, and we had never adopted it as part of any kind of update through the past number of years. Good. Any other questions? Yes.
So, I mean, it looks to me like for the board policies, a lot of them are just outlining exactly just Robert's rules, like you know, taking something to add an agenda item, it takes 2/3 vote. Well, that's Robert's rules, and we do try to sometimes use Robert's rules. No, it's a board, so that's appropriate.
right.
So just to, you know,
That would have been the policy, you know,
Yeah.
assumed, but just putting it on paper.
that's what I mean. Yeah, it just seems like you're just putting it on paper, just the Robert's rules.
That was the intent. And not to, you know, create policy just to create policy, but put things down we've either encountered or, you know, that just make it easier rather than having to gather things.
Right.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, just, I think a good example of that is the posting policy. It comes up all the time, and it's never been very clear. So that's terrific.
Good. Okay. Okay, so there is a motion on the table to approve all of those policies. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. Abstentions? Okay. Okay, so there are two new policies that we can go through. So, shockingly, there was never a policy that said that Board of Education members must take their oath of office prior to entering into their official duties. So we're going to add that. That's 9275. Questions on that one?
Well, there is a statute,
Yeah.
so
Understood,
it just wasn't a board of ed.
Although it was always done.
It was always done,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, yes, always.
Right. Make that point.
Yes. Okay, and the second one is 9015, and this is transaction of business, and this is again specific to the board, that the board shall transact all business as a legal meeting of the board, that the board shall act as a whole entity except a committee created in accordance with these bylaws may act on matters before it in conformity with the committee's purpose or charge. Individual members may make no commitments for the board or issue orders for the board except when executing an assignment delegated by the board. And the board shall concern itself with questions of educational policy and not with administrative details of the district's operations. So this again was something that was never included in our policies, but we feel like it's a good recommendation from Shipman that using their policy and their language makes sense here. Yes, Liz?
So the first A, is it supposed to be the board shall transact all business as illegal or at illegal? You said as, I think.
I'm sorry, at a legal
Okay.
meeting of the board, yes, forgive me.
So can I just say,
Yes.
it's just as a point of discussion, I guess.
Yes.
I think that this is excellent because a lot of times people in the community will ask us something and I say, that's not our job. That's not what we do. So now we can point them to a policy.
Exactly, that was the intent, yes, we've been getting a lot of those questions.
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
So that's good for me.
Very good. Any other questions, comments? Good, okay. So can I have a motion to approve the first reading of policy 9275 and 9015? This is a first reading also.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. All right, so we are moving on to 9A, approval of the financial report dated April 2018. Liz?
Again, not a lot of change from the last, from March financials to the April financials. The self-insurance fund still is trending good. And those items I mentioned earlier would be the ones that are applying pressure to the budget. But I don't see any concerns coming to a good ending of this fiscal year.
Any questions for Vince? Good. Okay. Item 10, report of the board chair. Move along. Yes. I'm sorry. Thank you, Dawn. Can I get a motion to approve the financial report dated April 2018?
Motion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you, Dawn. Item 11, consideration of committee reports. Mark?
Negotiations have pretty much begun. We met tonight at 4:30 before we came over here and began ground rule exchanges. And we have our next meeting June 6th, where we will get things started. So more to come.
Great. Policy, as Kathy mentioned, we just met on the 10th, and I don't believe we have any future meetings scheduled right now. Curriculum, Michelle?
Curriculum is meeting on June 4th. We'll be meeting at the administrative offices.
Thank you. Ellen, communications?
Kathy and I met with our writers and layout person for the newsletter, so we are off to a good start for the summer newsletter.
Do you have a future date for communication meeting?
We do not.
Planned, okay.
Okay. Item 12, report of committee liaisons. Correct is Chris, and he's not here. Focus is Bill, and he,
Bill
sorry.
gave me
Great.
something.
Sorry,
So
Focus.
I'll give you a focus update from Bill Beckert. So he met with Nancy Parent and Ed Manfredi on May 9th, and he sent some highlights. So FCD sent 4 students to an international peer leader conference. We have a really wonderful peer leader program here at the high school. Our students will work here at the high school, but also in the younger grades and go down and speak with students in the younger grades. A key role for the peer leaders is to advise incoming freshmen on lifestyle options and activities to avoid alcohol and vaping. Our peer leader group is really popular. They are mostly juniors. 50 people applied for 30 spots for next year. They are really cultivating a diverse group of peer leaders here at the high school. FCD was unable to do their program at FHS due to weather, the theme of the year. But they unfortunately can't reschedule, but FCD will be at IAR at the end of the year, which is when they usually go to IAR. Let's see, Focus has developed materials and videos on the perils of vaping and e-cigarettes. There is a teen center that is open and will be open this summer, Mondays 6 to 8 for incoming 8th graders and Wednesdays 6 to 8 for FHS. Focus wants to get more connected with schools, and they're looking to partner with IAR and Westwood's Parent Advisory Board for liaisons. They want to also present at elementary schools because they really do need to develop membership. We used to have a very large membership of parents in Focus, and we've had some struggles with that over the years. And so I think one of the things that's really important is to get the word out that Focus is looking for parents to join, and this is really about prevention and trying to get our students to avoid at-risk behavior when it comes to alcohol and drugs. And we really are very proud of Focus. Focus was developed here in Farmington by parents, and we want to keep that work going. And so we'd love to have parents join the Focus group.
Just a question, how does Focus try to engage more parents? I was just thinking about, the newsletter and, that might go
Right.
out to parents, that might be a way.
I think, Focus was always led by a parent and not by internal people like Nancy Parent or Ed Manfredi, and they've just out of necessity had to lead it. But I think that one of the things that they're trying to do is get the word out, and that's something that we need to do. Those parents that might have been involved in the past, their children are aging out of the school district, and they really need to bring newer parents from the elementary school into Focus. So there's that longevity of parent engagement. So I think those are great suggestions, getting the word out in newsletters, getting the word out in any way that we can when it comes to focus. So thank you, Bill, for the update.
Farmington Public School Foundation, Kathy and I met with them at the end of April. Much like Mark and Kim described, they had their process of selection and picking their, are we allowed to say that they have chosen theirs, or have they not officially done that yet?
I believe they have. I know that they've announced here at the high school, so
Got it. So they're in the process of announcing their choices for their sponsorships this year, and we should be hearing from them, I would think, soon on that. Christy, Superintendent's Interscholastic Athletics Advisory Committee.
We had our meeting already, but they said we would have another one at the end of the school year, but they haven't given us any dates yet.
yeah, usually it would be,
It's a race.
after any state championships and things like that. So usually we wait, but we should set it up soon. Only a few weeks left, so.
Michelle Chamber?
Yeah, the Chamber will be participating in the scholarship celebration tomorrow. They'll be presenting a scholarship to a student, so we're looking forward to that.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Andrea, Green Efforts?
Well, we had our annual townwide cleanup last month, and there was actually a little over 4 tons of trash collected. And I was out at Tungus Meet that day, and there was, a lot of students, school groups, teams, youth groups, and I just wanted to mention one of the youth groups that won the heaviest haul for their category was Mark's Boy Scout Troop 68, or PAC, sorry.
Troop 68.
Okay, Troop 68.
Pack is Cub
so-
Scouts.
So, but no, there's a lot of students out there, young kids, really helping to clean up our town.
Great.
And our next meeting is June 5th.
Liz, Cafeteria?
Nothing really to report since last time, except that I think our meeting's June 4th, which is the same date as the
Curriculum.
curriculum meeting, because the curriculum meeting got moved. So, but right now it's June 4th. So.
And Ellen, Health and Wellness?
We met at the end of April, and Ed Manfredi gave a very sort of a brief but informative update on concussion awareness, because I know probably many of us get inquiries, emails. There's concern in the community about concussions, and I was very happy to hear that all incoming 9th graders at Farmington High School get concussion training, and that FHS follows all the national protocol and best practice for concussion treatment as far as allowing the students coming back to school and coming back to sports. So that was, I felt very good after that conversation. Jose was there for Chartwell, so I won't reiterate. It was he actually brought some of his snacks, so but he already sort of went into that. And then Ed Manfredi did sort of a presentation how the Farmington PE department is looking into physical literacy and really trying to, because everyone knows how important health, physical activity is for brain function, and he's really trying to bring more physical activity into the curriculum, which I think is very, very exciting. So I think that. So he is in K through 12. He's just trying to create more opportunities for physical activity and overcoming obstacles as to why kids can't exercise. So he's very innovative, and I just need to give a shout out to Ed. We're so fortunate to have him as our PE department head. He is all about the health and wellness of our students. It just goes beyond what gym was.
Right.
So I really give a lot of kudos to Ed. He's working very innovatively and across the whole district to make sure our students are in good health. So
He brings some compelling
Yeah.
data and information to the committee that really causes you to reflect and think about how important it is for children to play and be active. And we've been talking recently about adding a little component even to our Good Start program for our very young children to, continue to help parents be very aware of how important sort of the academic and the physical sides of learning and growing can make a difference, and positive difference. So I agree. We're fortunate to have Ed.
Great. Thank you. Do we need a motion to adjourn to executive session? Yes. Can I get a motion to adjourn to executive session?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We are adjourned. We are back on the record. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.